Anti-racism is both false and it's real. It's false because there is no such thing as race. Race is pseudoscience. It's made up. There are no races. There's only one race, the human race. But it's also real in the sense that people have constructed these false categories and live by them. People actually think that there are different races. So for me, anti-racism is both false, but it's real in its consequences. And that, in sum, makes it hugely problematic for anybody pursuing justice today. Three things started my anti-racism activism. First of all, I'm a Christian. I was raised in the Black church tradition in Britain. In the Black church, we believe in justice and equality, that God created all human beings equally. So being raised in that tradition led me to believe that all people were the same and all people should be treated equally and be given the same opportunity and resource. But when I went to school, and the second thing, and encountered racism, that then got me interested in how I could bring these Christian ideas into my working life, into my school life, and challenge racism. So I started anti-racist activity at school in Coventry in the 1970s. I worked with Asian friends, Irish friends, Italian friends who were committed to anti-racism, and we basically fought the fascists. I mean, we used to do that back in the day. It was literally physical hand-to-hand fighting. It doesn't happen so much now, but it happened back in the day. The third thing that got me really interested in it was seeing the National Front march in Birmingham during a church convention, Digbeth in the 1970s. We were here for a church convention. I saw this fascist march and these anti-fascists rivaling them. And that made me aware that it wasn't just good enough. It wasn't going to be good enough just to have a group in school that were willing to fight the racist kids. I needed to become much more organized, much more critical, more educated on how to address racism in the world. So my anti-racism formation, although anti-racism is a problematic category of thought and action, began when I was in school. The first step towards dismantling racism is education from the outset. It is inscribing into every course, every teaching session, that any identity that's presented as fixed is problematic. And what I mean by that is when we fix people by saying all Irish are, all Caribbean people are, all Spanish people are, all refugees are. Whenever we fix, we run the risk of producing hierarchies, division, and ultimately racism. So if you can inscribe in every single class from key stage 0, the idea that fixity is wrong and that difference is good, then you stand a chance. An anti-racist city is one that is becoming. And what I mean by that is it's never one that is fixed or comfortable. It's a city that is always evaluating, challenging, rethinking issues around inclusion, justice, equality. And therefore we should never see this kind of vision as something that's made already. It's something that has to be made, has to become. So I think that an anti-racist city is one that's always agitating. It's uncomfortable with itself because it's always seeking to do better. So the task of good anti-racism, although it's a problematic category of thought and action, is about agitating, is about challenging, is about provoking. The Jamaicans have a word for this. Jamaicans call it farce. And what they mean by that is meddling, being in the business of challenging, of provoking, doing things that you shouldn't be doing. And I think that's the characteristic that an anti-racist city should embody. Is it possible? Well, there are two schools of thought on this. There are the liberationists who believe that it is possible and that people can be transformed, systems can be changed, and hope can reign and rule. On the other hand, there's the pessimist school. Afro-pessimist school says actually the reality is that racism as a feature of slavery in the Black experience never ended, it just simply evolved. So it evolved into the criminal justice system. It evolved into wage slave labor. It evolved into colonialism. It evolved into what Sivanandan calls domestic neo-colonialism. So consequently, it will never end. So the second school of thought believes you cannot end it. My position is classically on the fence. I think that anti-racism is a struggle, and it will be a constant struggle because of the nature of the history of the politics that we're dealing with. To overturn almost 1,000 years of history will take at least hundreds of years in terms of education and development. And what we've got to name and address is the pushback. There will be constant pushback. If Stuart Hall is correct, there'll always be a push towards change and then a counter push towards change. And that's the reality of dealing with anti-racism. So I'm on the fence. I think there'll be small gains, but there will be setbacks. And therefore, to be committed to this struggle is to acknowledge that reality.
Beyond racism, racism and beyond, anti-racism has to be the norm. Let's build a city where everyone belongs. Beyond racism, racism and beyond, anti-racism has to be the norm. A world of understanding, that's what we crave. From every corner, every land, a tapestry woven by every hand. Harmonious call, we rise and stand.